Okay, so on March 23rd, we got this pretty pointless article about LeBron James saying that if he was part of the UNI loss to Texas A&M, that he would quit basketball. Just some interesting things in this article alone. Northern Iowa, it says they collapsed in the final 44 seconds of the game against Texas A&M. They were literally winning by 12 points with 44 seconds to go, and then they lost the game in double overtime. And I mean, look who's reporting this. I would quit basketball, he said, as relayed by 92.3, the fans, TJ, whatever. I mean, I know it's a radio station, but the reason they even put this article out in the mainstream media is because 92.3, LeBron James equals 923 in Jewish gematria. It all connects to Pope Francis's visit to the United States on his 923rd day as Pope. He went to the White House at 9:23 on 9:23 even. Anyway, what's really sticks out is that they lost with 44 seconds to go is when they collapsed or whatever. This year, the NCAA tournament, the championship game is played on April 4th, which is 4-4. So interesting, they lose with 44 seconds. UNI in gematria equals 44. Also want to point out LeBron James's nickname is King James. King James in gematria equals 44. And the best part about it was that this game went to overtime with a score of 71-71. I guess it doesn't show it here, but if you add them up, the score was 71-71 going into overtime. And if you write out the word 71, it equals 144. The only other number to do that is 44. If you write out 44, it equals 144. And if you write out 71, it equals 144. If you write out April 4th even, April 4th in gematria equals 144. So interesting, I've talked a lot about the 44 in connection to the Golden State Warriors. I mean, this doesn't necessarily mean they're going to lose. LeBron is connected to the 44 as well. The word death equals 44. Just want to point it out, I guess, so people can gather their thoughts about it, maybe help me out and what I'm thinking. You know, there was lots of significant things in this tournament. I didn't really get to watch a whole lot of it. One of the things I did look up before the tournament started was Iowa State. I'm from Iowa. In this town I live in, there's a ton of Iowa State fans. Whatever, you know. But Iowa State, the interesting thing about them, especially with the tournament ending on 4-4, the last time that Iowa State has been to a Final Four was in 1944. They also have a new coach, Steve Prohm or whatever. Talk about that in a second, but he used to be the head coach of Murray State. Murray State equals 44 in gematria. His name equals 51 in gematria, just like LeBron James, just like Cleveland Cavs, just like Cleveland. Cleveland hasn't won a sports championship in 51 years. But what's interesting about this guy is that he replaced Fred Hoiberg. I don't even know why I clicked on it. This guy right here, Fred Hoiberg, he left Iowa State last year, or at the end of last year, to coach the Chicago Bulls. I've talked over and over and over about how the Warriors are connected to the 72-10 Chicago Bulls. Lots of connections to Michael Jordan. Steve Kerr was on that team as well, the coach of the Golden State Warriors. So just super interesting. And they actually lost. They lost as well the tournament. And look how many points they scored in the game that they lost. They lost to Virginia. They were even the 4 seed, and they scored 71 points in the game that they lost. I mean, how ridiculous. 71 and 44 have that connection to 144. And then, of course, Virginia goes on and blows a huge lead to Syracuse in their next game. Rigged like crazy. I mean, they scored 58 points, then all of a sudden they couldn't score again. And then Syracuse made a huge comeback or whatever. Syracuse hadn't led the game since the score was 8-5. Virginia couldn't score once they got to 58 points. Virginia ended up losing. They had a record of 29-8 and they lost because Syracuse went on a run of 29-8 to make Virginia's record 29-8 to finish the season. I mean, whatever. Just wanted to point a few of them out. Interesting because it was Iowa State with the 44. Also, I'm talking about UNI here, so just interesting connecting to Iowa. So yeah, let's move on here. So anyway, the game was on 3/20/2016. If you write out March 20th, 2016, it even equals 144. The number connected to 44 is 71. Texas A&M Aggies equals 131 in gematria. The word championship equals 131. Also interesting, the game was 74 days before the NBA Finals began. I would quit basketball, what LeBron said in gematria, equals 74. The word Masonic also equals 74. Tons of 74, a super special number. You know, our nation's independence is even July 4th, which is 7-4. Also, Northern Iowa Panthers equals 108, just like Golden State Warriors. Golden State, you know, in their 44th season in Golden State, Steve Kerr came back on the 44th game. They lost to the Lakers 44 days after Steve Kerr came back. Tons of other 44s with the Golden State Warriors. Just interesting. I've talked so much about how I think they're going to win, and then I find stuff like this, and then I question it like no other. I just don't think that if they beat the Bulls' 72-10 record, I just can't see them losing. But I mean, who knows? There's other things that are connected for them winning as well. So I guess just kind of waiting to see how it all plays out, you know? It takes a lot of time for some of these things. I wonder if sometimes if even they don't even really have a picked winner yet for the finals. They just literally code a bunch of different teams in different ways, and then they put a bunch of propaganda out there to see how people will react, so people will bet a certain way. It's even coded to events like the fake Belgium bombings and whatnot. And they're just seeing how the story's going to go so they can choose what story they're going to go with. Could be completely wrong, but just something I've been thinking about. I noticed that in the Super Bowl, almost every team I noticed in the playoffs was connected to the 85 Bears. But anyway, let's move on here. So Northern Iowa blew a 12-point lead. 12 points in gematria equals 180. The final score of the game even totaled up to 180. The loss also disqualified UNI for the Sweet 16. Sweet 16 equals 51 and 168. Cleveland Cavaliers equals 168. And of course all these 51s around the Cavaliers this year. I also want to point out, you know, the Cavaliers lost to the Chicago Bulls in the 1989 NBA playoffs. They lost in the first round because Michael Jordan made the shot over Craig Elo. Craig Elo in gematria equals 51. But also this year seems to be all about beating the Chicago Bulls and being better than the Bulls. So something to think about as well, you know. I guess another 51 I threw in here was that game where UNI lost, it was 51 days before. I wrote after, but it's 51 days before the 131st day of the year this year, which sticks out, you know, because 131 equals championship. But once again, you know, just because championship equals 131 doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win the championship. Maybe you're just going to make it. Anyway, going to leave it at that. Just wanted to make a quick video talking about this pointless article. Thought I'd make maybe a short video, so whatever. Have a good one.